thank you for being here. Thank you that you can still bring up the mental energy to come and listen to my story here. So my name is Jan de Koster. During my day job, I make art and stories and technology in all kinds of constellations. And to give you the explanation why I'm here today, the first time I attended this camp was in 97, at HIP 97. Who was here in 97? Yeah, okay. Did we meet then? Me neither. There were also 3,500 people back then. And the amazing thing is the atmosphere is still the same, but the technology and the infrastructure has transformed in very various ways. So it was a lot more primitive back then. But I'm glad that this atmosphere stays the same. I hope that it will stay the same for the next 10, 20, or 30 years. To go quickly over the rest of my career, so I make a lot of robots, so all kinds of robots, and often in contact with people. So they're often humanoid or humanoid-like robots, and they come at events and at exhibitions in musea. And I use these robots to tell stories. That's what I figured out after a while. I was interested in technology. I was a fan of robots of all kinds, but then it occurred to me that I'm not really doing this for the technology, but to use them as a medium to tell stories, because stories can do amazing things. If you want to bring a message to people, you can start from the very simple facts, even the data, but if you turn it into a story, and then if the story is created in a way that it even evokes emotions with people, then you know that your message will stick a lot better than just presenting them with a data sheet. And that is something I learned in a lot of communication projects, but I didn't feel like doing this only for commercial projects. I also started doing this for other kinds of projects. I started myself to try to change the world a little bit. And one of the first examples was the bear protest project I did in my hometown in Mechelen, in Belgium. And we had a problem at the school where my kids were going. It's a narrow street, and some parents like to drop off their kids really with their SUVs really at the edge of the school door, which is, their choice, that's okay. But I found it a little bit strange and disturbing that we will teach our children inside that this is the sidewalk and this is the street, and children are safe on the sidewalk, and then as soon as school is out, you see big cars on that sidewalk. It wasn't the right message. So I started talking to people about this, drivers of these cars, and there weren't always amusing conversations. It wasn't a fun thing to talk about. So I started thinking, how can we make this a nicer message, something fun, and something that people can't just be mad over. So what I did was I went to a thrift store, and they donated 3 or 4 boxes full of plushies, teddy bears, and we gave them protest signs. And we placed them all along the street, the sidewalk, and even when cars were parked on the sidewalk, we would put the bears on top of the cars. And everybody was smiling. We did this campaign, I think, 2 or 3 times again. There were only smiling faces. And you're bringing a message, like your car shouldn't be at this place, but still, look, everybody is having a good time. How can you be mad about this? And in the end, it became a school street, as it is known in Belgium, so cars cannot drive in the street anymore when school is closing. So that was a nice result of this campaign. Thank you. A number of cities copied, with permission obviously, because I don't own this idea, copied the idea and did the same at their school. Another example is this campaign for the city of Ghent, where they have a problem with a lot of cigarette butts falling on the floor. One way to prevent this is to give people fines, or have the police or other people on the street showing people, hey, don't put them on the street. There's a trash can right over there. Put them inside. But we changed the story. I created a robot character. He's called Fons, and he's the actual trash can you can find on the streets in Ghent. But he drives around, and he has a face, and he comes begging smokers for their cigarette butts. And people can't be mad anymore. They say, give me a minute, I'll smoke really quickly, so I can give you... This is what really happened to people. So they walked up to the robot, because we would drive around for campaign days, as we say. So a certain day in the weekend, we would drive to busy locations, and people were lining up to put their cigarette in this trash can. And it showed people, by doing this behavior and showing them there's an ashtray in this trash can, then they measured an effect that there were less cigarette butts on the streets during these campaign days. So, on to the main story of my talk. I want to give a short disclaimer. I won't go into details about the actual facts in this campaign, because it's a very polarized discussion. Maybe there are fans in the audience of one or the other side of this story, and this shouldn't be the story. It's more about how we created this campaign, what we learned, what happened over these 6 years. So the details of the story are not important right now. I hope you learned something about this process and how government interacts with citizens in these kinds of situations. There is a small forest in my town where I grew up, and it was under threat. So somebody wanted to build a project there, really big, so a big part, almost all of the forest, would be destroyed. And the first reaction with me was very emotional. I don't like this idea. These are the trees I knew when I was a small kid. This can't happen. So how do I handle this emotion, and what will be my course of action? Now, a little spoiler alert. It's already in the title. We won this fight. So December 12th last year, the contractor pulled the plug out of the project, and it was finished. But I'm going to tell you how we created a story with just a few people onto thousands of people involved in this campaign. So this is the title of my talk. And you're all here right now, so at a certain point you must have thought, hey, this is an interesting title. Maybe I should go and listen to this. Well, this is populism. So there was something very striking in this title. Maybe it was the 15 million euro, or maybe it was destroying a forest. These kind of messages get into, really spike into people's minds and say, hey, this can't happen. Maybe I'm interested in what is happening here. And populism is a tool that is very commonly used among politicians. You must know this very well. I liked your talk, by the way. But they can't help this, politicians. It's how politics works. They have to use populism and popular terms so they can get elected again in a normal democratic system. So why do we start this fight? Why should we do this? Well, I think it's pretty clear at the hacker camp that we are not really keen to compliance. We like defiance. That's what hackers do, right? I'm not just imagining this or the only one here in the audience. So we like to pick these kinds of fights. But how can we use stories and storytelling in these kind of projects? So again, we try to gather data. We derive facts from that. We create a story, and hopefully these stories can also strike an emotion with people, because then it really sticks. And these emotions, they can be hope, and they can be determination. Yes, I'm going to do something. Motivation. These feelings, they don't stop just with our campaign. If people have the feeling that they can do something to change the world, then that just that stays with them for a while. After a while, they see another problem in the world, and they will think, hey, this worked with this campaign. Maybe it will work again. Now, the other side has their stories too, and their stories are a lot darker. Politicians and project developers, they like to work with fatalism. They like to convince people it's all going to be fine. You can't do anything about it anyway. So why bother? Just do whatever you do. We have this under control. Whatever you can accomplish, it's not going to change a damn thing about this situation. It's hopelessness, and it's despair, it's fear. And we have to counter these emotions. Now, how do we get from me? I didn't start this alone, and by the way, we were a number of people. But how do I get this story from me to the rest of the world? So it started with an emotion, like I said. But then I started looking for a story. What is a story? Why does this affect me so much, this problem in this forest? Because I grew up here, because I used to play here. This forest has a value for me, maybe for the rest of the community living here too. A value for the planet, because we need every tree alive right now. And then we go to facts. Yeah, why do we need every tree on the planet? Maybe even data. But from these sides of the story, we can then convey this message to the rest of the world. Yes, if that is the fact, if that is your story, maybe after a while I get a feeling about this too. Maybe these emotions start to grow with other people too. Now, politicians know this, and they like to polarize us. They would like to find all the differences we have between each other and then focus on those. Because the project was a little bit focused on children and their entertainment. Of course, people started using the classic meme, think about the children. Because, now I'm giving some details about the project anyway. There was a pool, so people would learn to swim there. And I actually read this quote in a news article: because of our campaign, the children are going to drown. That is what the campaign would bring if we continue with this. Now, polarization is often just really thin as a piece of paper. It's not real. There is a lot more that connects people, as you know, but if nobody highlights these connections, politicians and corporations will like to play into this polarization, of course. And that is why it's really important for these kinds of campaigns to try to stay apolitical, to just say, this is the goal of the campaign is this is our mission, and we don't care about your ideology or what your role is in the political spectrum. We would like to talk to anybody, and that is how you counter this polarization, of course. Another thing is, and I'm really kind of proud that we were able to do this, really on the very first days we started this campaign with 4 or 5 people. We made a plan, and we stuck to this plan for 6 years. And that is what is probably contributed to the success of the campaign a lot. Now, I know this is really small for these displays, but this is the plan. That's it. Now you have it. We started in 2018, and we ended in the end of 2024 with a few people, and after a while, our followers and the campaigners grew and grew until thousands of people, really. And one of the aspects really important is to have a very clear mission. What is the mission? Yes, the mission of our campaign was the protection of this Zennebemde nature reserve, and we are not against a theme park, we are for nature. Anytime anybody from the campaign encounters a strange question or an attempt to be polarized, we go back to this mission. The mission is preventing the forest from being destroyed. We don't care about all the other arguments. We want the trees to live. That is the most important part of our campaign. We do community building, because starting with just 5 or 6 people, you're not going to achieve a lot, so you need more people involved, and that takes a lot of effort. So we start working on distributing a lot of information on very different levels, not just storytelling, not just very emotional messages like nice photos and videos of animals in nature, but also just really dry facts. What is going on with the building plan? How did this compare to the reality on the field? Look at all the problems that they're not addressing in this building permit. It's striking how easy it is to find all these problems, because often corporations project developers, they think, yeah, this project will just fly through the legal process and we won't have any opposition, except for people that are starting to really dig into the problems and find a lot of ammunition to work with. Very important is to have a very good relationship with the press. The press really likes news. If you have a powerful enemy, it's very easy to have good relationships with the press because they like popular messages too, of course. And we have to use that. We are hackers. We use the system, maybe not like it's intended, but with a certain goal in mind. So after a while, we started to grow public support. While the project developer said, yeah, we have a lot of public support, we started to show people that this support wasn't that big as they thought, while the support for our campaign only grew over time. We also managed to gain the forest management for this area. So we started to work in the forest and really do the actual work on the terrain. So people couldn't just say, there's just angry people at their laptops. We were on the terrain, while often people of the government or the project developers never came in that forest. We made, of course, at a certain moment, there were legal steps necessary, so you have to find a lawyer, and you try to build a good relationship with them. Of course, they cost money, so we need fundraising. But if you have enough followers, people will spend money, and that is really heartwarming to see. But there is a very important block here on the bottom, and that is peer support. You cannot do this alone, and that is very important to know. I see a lot of people in these kind of campaigns, even close friends, going down a rabbit hole and finding themselves isolated, not only by their own choice, but by the situations that they're in, and finding themselves isolated and in a dark space, and that can have very dramatic effects on them, very dramatic. And the really disgusting thing about this is the government and the project developers, they know this, and they try to actively create these situations. So this is their reaction. First, they started from a lot of people. They're the populists, so they show how amazing this project is for everybody, for work, for entertainment, for the city as a whole. But then they start ignoring the campaign group. You don't exist. Look at how many people are loving this project. You don't count. You're not enough people. Polarization, as I showed, but then also undermining your trust, finding dirt, finding negative messages about campaigners, and then publishing them publicly in press releases or in social media. Isolation. So telling people, this isn't a campaign of thousands of people, it's just a couple of people. It's just one guy in the end. It's just this one guy who's doing everything. It doesn't exist, all these thousands of people. It's just this one dude. And we start legal steps. So what happened was I found out that there were police in civilian clothes that were shadowing me at every public event where I showed up. And then, of course, other campaigners will point them out and said, hey, look at this guy and look at him. They're just police officers, and they're waiting here for you to make a misstep or to document what you're doing here, to build a file at the police in my town. I went to the police station, and I asked them to look into this file. I cannot see this file. I do not know what the police is gathering about me, and to this day, I have no idea about it. I wrote a complaint to the Belgian government that oversees police actions in the whole country. Sorry, can't help me. That is protected by the investigation running into you. This is Belgium, by the way. It's supposed to be a very democratic country. But what happened apart from all those negative things? The number of activists only grew, and the perception by the government only narrowed down to fewer and fewer people. So there has to be a point where this idea is starting to show cracks. The support of the project is not as big as they think. There's starting to be cracks and faults, and they mess up in their communication, and we see that they start making public announcements that contradict what they said before, and then, of course, we narrow in on that and expose that. Now, if you're taking along a lot of people in a campaign, you have to check if everybody is still with you. And that is something we learned and didn't plan in the beginning. Often you think, yeah, we're hundreds of people now, let's go and let's do this, but not everybody is as involved. Not everybody is at the same level of engagement. And you have a long way to go. We knew this at the beginning, this would take years. We didn't know 6 years, but it's really important that you don't lose a lot of followers in the process, of course. Now, as I already said, apolitical is very important for the campaign. You have to know, you have to let everybody know that you can talk to you, that they can talk to you. So any even very extreme political views need to be welcome in our, in a dialogue or in a conversation, because you never know what they take home to their ideology. Even very extreme views can take home an idea, and maybe after a while they start doubting their own ideology and see just the facts that we're showing them. So, and what I also discovered was, after a while, if you get known in the press and they know your name, suddenly you get calls from people really close to the project asking you, can we stay anonymous, and is this okay if I talk to you? You have to be really convincing that they can absolutely trust you and not break that promise. But after a while, information just comes to you, and that is really amazing and heartwarming to see. You have friends everywhere. And that is not always clear in the beginning, and that is not clear if you're getting isolated or in a very dark spot. You have to keep this open mind and keep a channel open to everybody so they can talk to you at least. So back to why. We are hackers. We like defiance, and this is a campaign that was very focused on a certain project. But there are other campaigns that can have the same recipe. Not every campaign has the light is as light as this campaign. Some problems in the world are very, very serious, and maybe it's not applicable to just any problem. But at least with this campaign, we managed to have a lot of fun, and that is in the end also very important, just for your mental well-being, because you're spending a lot of energy in this, and if this is always in a very dark space, you won't last for 6 years. So you need to have fun and make friends in this process, and I'm really glad and proud that I did make a lot of friends and meet really hundreds of very interesting people. I also started making a lot of YouTube content explaining facts in the legal process, helping people to file complaints, helping people to send in their legal documentation to complain against the building permit. And we did a lot of walks in the forest, where we really walk through the forest and show every point of the building plan where some things are going to be built. And that is very important for people to imagine the scale of such a project. Of course, it's also a very social situation. So that is where you make friends and build really a community. Really, in the beginning of the project, we had an art exhibition where we asked children to make artworks to show how beautiful the forest was. And then we had, I think, 35 or 40 artworks, which we then displayed in the forest and in the fields around. This was a project where we had little houses of birds, but they were protesting. So they had protest signs hanging out of the little houses. I joined many climate walks, protest marches with Bomi. It's a character we created to show, to give it a face, this campaign. So he would bring the more light-hearted messages to not only children, but just people who are just briefly interested in the process. And in the end, yeah, the forest is still there. The trees, often many of them over 100 years old, are still there. But the story is not over yet completely. So because there are now plans in the Belgian government to make it more difficult to fight against building permits in favor of efficiency, as they would say. Now, I always thought that if we were writing complaints or if we were doing investigations in the building permit, it was for efficiency. Because if you find problems in this building permit, it's in the interest of the project developer to know these problems, you would think. Otherwise, it would cost a lot more money afterwards to fix these problems. But yeah, we will see if that law gets passed. There will be a lot of opposition, I'm sure. But what also is very important, I think, that if this kind of activism gets people involved, like thousands of people in this case, it gives people hope, but also, yes, I had an effect. We did something. We worked on this for 6 years, and I changed the world a little bit. So who knows what happens tomorrow? Maybe I have a lot more hope and a lot more control of my fate than I knew. And that is very, very important for everybody to know this, because fatalism is always around the corner. Anybody will tell you, you can't do this, forget about it, it's too hard. And we have to constantly remind ourselves, but everybody else around us, yes, we can change things. This is possible, because you have always, remember, you have friends everywhere. Thank you. Yeah?
You're really early in time.
Oh yeah, more questions then, eh? Oh, yeah.
Muted again. Not muted.
Well,
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you take that mic. I hope it
yeah. I can take a number of questions while I figure out the mic, so go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, this mic works. Yeah, so very interesting talk.
Thank you.
It kind of reminded me of a situation we had in the Netherlands a number of years ago that may still be ongoing, the fight against Lelystad Airport. What ended up happening at some point is that the government tried to kind of set action groups against each other, stick them against each other, but they decided to keep working together, in samenwerkende actiegroepen tegen laagvliegen, SATL. And I was wondering, in your process of activism, have you encountered something similar, be it in government sabotage or finding contact with other action groups in other parts of the country, or perhaps Europe, other parts of the world?
Yeah. Well, to go a little bit into the details of the project, so the mayor of the city where I live, he was a family with the project developer. So he is of the Liberal Party, but he had a coalition with the Green Party. So the Green Party supported the project and should support the destruction of the forest. So that means they took along a lot of people from environmental organizations, which we then had to not just, it was really swimming upstream, because these people were convinced, you're totally wrong. Our party says this is a perfect, okay project. Look at these arguments. And then we had to convince them with facts on top of just the normal facts we would use to a more general audience. Look, this is wrong. This is where you're being deceived. And this happened really a lot. I experienced this personally, where we went into action groups, or like Natuurpunt, which nature preservation organization, where they started spreading rumors here. These guys are nuts. They don't know what they're talking about. They never come in nature. They all drive big cars, so they're all faking. That happens, and this is amazing to see how this process, it's like a manual they got somewhere that is spread all over the world. This is how you act against activists. This is your problem? Look, make them fight each other. That is the solution. So I feel your situation, it happened to us. And still, if you stick to the facts and to the mission, we saw after a while, yes, these people start to turn. Yeah, maybe they're not right. Even inside the Green Party, there was then discussions. Maybe and it moved to a more neutral situation where they said, well, we'll see. If it happens, it happens, and otherwise, so it didn't happen. Move on.
Yeah. Yeah, and here in the Netherlands, they try to seek the parties, well, the action groups from the Veluwe area against the other way around. They just try to seek the action groups from around the IJsselmeer against the groups from the Veluwe, because they would be shifting low-flying airplane routes. But they were like, okay, we're not falling for this. We're working together now. So. Yeah. In the end, the government interference actually ended up strengthening the action groups altogether. So that was kind of inspiring.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you for your talk.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
In terms of personal costs, how many man-years in total did this project of defending the forest
That's
take?
a good question.
And also your own and the entire community that stood up for it.
Sorry?
So I want to see how much you personally invested, how much time, and also maybe money, and how much time, man-years the entire community invested.
Yeah. Well, I know I'm really fortunate. I was fortunate in that situation where I'm just an independent. I was working independently, so I could choose my own time schedule. I think I was spending 30% of my time to this project. But I'm not billing this to a client, so it's just my time I put in. It's, in the end, my family that bears that cost in a way. We were very lucky to have financial support from sponsors, from fundraising and just crowdsourcing campaigns to pay our lawyers. So I didn't pay too much money. That was very insignificant. But the time spent, it's not for everybody. And I know I'm very fortunate to be in this situation because now I'm involved with another campaign group in the north of the city where people are not working independently. They are low-income families. They have other priorities. If you tell them, look, this forest is going away, sorry, it's really unfortunate, but I have to work and I cannot risk sticking my neck out and losing my job for this. So I know it's for privileged people to have these kind of campaigns.
Can this happen in Belgium?
Sorry,
can this happen in Belgium, that people lose jobs over activism?
It's that fatalism. They don't have to lose their jobs. They need to be afraid enough to lose their jobs. That is how it works, because this company we were fighting, they're everywhere in the entertainment sector. So if you're anywhere related to entertainment in Belgium, you could be affected by this, Fear is enough. Fear is enough to keep people seated,
I know, it works.
You know. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your talk. Very inspiring.
Thank you.
What I wonder is, did you ever get a question like, okay, do you have a better location for this? Are you sticking to the facts only for the forest, or are you also involved in, okay, but if you would do it there, would it help? And maybe that would build better goodwill.
Yeah, we did that, obviously. So we suggested other locations, and also, of course, we're not working for the city, we're not working for the government, so it's really hard for civilians to get this kind of information. But still, from a very populistic side of the story, you can find, you look, this location is totally empty, there are no buildings, no trees. This could be a spot, at least to open the discussion. And over the years, we suggested several of these locations. One of them is a cooperation with Sport Vlaanderen, which is the organization that trains professional sporting people, careers. And this is now probably the course they're following. So it's just 2 kilometers away from the original site, and they're going to cooperate with them to build a new swimming pool over there. So that works, but they will never give us the credit for that. They will say, we get a good idea. Yes, okay, great. I read that somewhere. But that's fine. It's just the result that counts. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah. Just one thing I triggered on. You said, I'm not working for the government.
Yeah.
No your local government should be working for you.
Yeah, I know.
They're servants, civil servants.
Yeah, tell that to the mayor in Mechelen. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the message of hope. Very great.
Thank you.
My question, or what I was wondering, was that you said your campaign is apolitical.
Yeah.
But isn't that like the core of politics, what you're doing? Like taking things in your own hands in a democracy? That would be political. It's just not inside a party. It's across parties.
Yeah.
That was what, because I had a discussion yesterday with a guy from Extension Rebellion, and he was like talking. Some people came to his thing and were saying, "Yeah, I thought you were apolitical, and now you're not, and now I'm not doing anything with you anymore." Like this, but it's political, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah, but it's to avoid these kind of discussions that we said. Okay, so no political parties, and
so your definition is different.
It's different. It's semantics. I know it's
semantics. Yeah, that makes sense.
But you understand why it's so important, because we had people from the left and from the right who could just bring the same arguments and discussions to us, and all these dialogues helped us in the end. All these views of these politicians, they were all just little drops in the bucket, and in the end it flowed over. But all these drops count. If we would have chosen a really political stance and say, okay, these are the people we're working with, then we would have a lot of opposition from a whole group of people who wouldn't maybe even look at the facts anymore, because the ideology doesn't work with them. And
you like you said, politics and ideologically like on the same.
Yeah.
I would say it's not ideologic, but it's political. But in the pure sense of the old Greeks, maybe. So maybe
I will think about this, the phrasing of this slide. Maybe I will change it in the future. But thank you for your view. Yeah. Okay. No more questions. So if you see me walking around, just come by and talk to me about this. Or you can scan this and you will find the ways to contact me via my website. Voilà. Thank you.